Hello humans. This is a bit of a brief, hopefully, weird warning woo. Okay, so it's August 24th, and I have had an impression. All right, so I'm not psychic as far as I know. I don't get visions or that kind of thing, right? And so I've had an impression. I'm a sensitive. I've done years and years and years of meditation, and I'm sensitive to my own body and my own thoughts and so on. So I'm sensitive to my impressions around the world. So I've had this impression that has come upon me 3 times in the past. It's so vague and so fleeting that it's difficult to note it and then also note the day or the time or something. And so there's a tendency to forget it. And so, but because it was a powerful impression, and it was even though fleeting, and it was emotionally tied, and because it was it was 100% opposed to my nature, it was notable, even in the first instance, even however vague it was. And it's happened to me 3 times. And as I say, maybe it's been 3 weeks. Maybe it's been in the last 3 weeks, perhaps a little bit longer than that. The impression I get is a very fleeting emotional push that goes towards and makes me feel ever so slightly pleasant initially, ever so slightly relaxed and relieved initially, and then I realize that that emotion is being attached to the thought of the vaccination needle. And this is antithetical to my being. Okay, I'm a paranoid. I'm not afraid of needles. I've sutured myself, right? I've stitched myself up and hauled great chunks of stuff out of me and cleaned up the wounds and all of that, and used lidocaine and sutures and this kind of needling. And it's like, no, I'm not afraid of needles. What gets me as a paranoid, though, is that fluid in the needle that I did not put in there, I don't know about, et cetera, right? It sends a fear shiver up my back, and it is not the needle, it's not going into my body, it is the actual paranoia that's associated with the material being in me. And that's what paranoia is about. It's about external stuff. It's a body-mind driven thing, paranoia. Anyway, so this is antithetical to my nature, to have any kind of a pleasant thought relative to, and it wasn't pleasant per se, it's very difficult to describe. It's almost as though it was the very first one anyway, it was almost as though I would have characterized it as a sense of relief. And then the second time it occurred, it was a sense of, lasted a little bit longer, and it was a sense of relief with an ever so slight sense of relaxation. And so that second time really freaked me out, right? And I'd been carrying it in my back of my mind, aware that it had happened. And I had actually, because I'm my age and because my mother went into dementia, and there's all other kinds of weird energies and stuff around here, I analyze my own thinking process to try and keep up with the potential for degradation of that thinking process. And so I sort of carried that idea around, that this was a second occurrence of a very weird thing, very strange, because I'm full on going to slug the hell out of you and stomp you into a bloody mess if you try and come at me with one of those needles. And as I say, I'm not afraid of needles. It's not the needle, it's the material inside, right? The euthanasia material. Anyway, but so then it happened a third time. Now the third time was really interesting because the other 2 times were daylight when I was awake and I was walking around. And because of my colon cancer, my sleep is erratic and so on, so I go to sleep early and stuff, and it happened again just as I was in a nocturnal state of pre-sleep, that point where you're descending sort of into consciousness, into the lack of consciousness, right? But you're still vaguely aware there, you're snuggling down, and it all sort of comes together. And I had my pure sleep product, so that period is very brief. It doesn't take me long to get to sleep, right? And so I was just starting to settle into sleep, and it happened again. This time, though, for whatever reason, I was able to react to it and sort of trace it to myself internally. And I saw I didn't have a vision or anything. Didn't get words or any of that kind of stuff. And I say I saw, but it's not I didn't really see. I perceived that there was a connection between this attempt or between this feeling of the relief associated with the injection, which is antithetical to me and just sends a shiver up my spine now. There was a feeling with that I could trace down to death. Now look, I've seen death. I've been there 3 times in this body recently, like July 13th, right? 2018. And so that's a fresh taste in my mouth, right? And so I knew where I was going with this. And so it was my conclusion, just independent, just in my own body and in my own mind, that there were some really weird energies out there that I had suspected were causing inappropriate thoughts, right? And so it's like, wow, this is a little weird. I had no intention of talking to anybody about it as this thing occurred. And the only reason I'm bringing it up now is because it has been externally validated. So if it is strange energies from space coming zinging in and causing my neural stuff to rearrange, it's happening to some other people as well. Now, I've had so far, I've had 6 communications about this effect from 6 separate people. Actually, one person was sort of 2 people because it was a husband and wife team kind of thing, right? But 6 separate communications. And in 6 separate times, these people self-identified as psychics. And I think at least 3 or 4 of them are like making their living that way and have for some time, like for years. Like one woman has been doing it for like 31 years. She's successful at it. She does good with it. Anyway, though, so these people self-identify as psychics, and in all 6 cases, they are telling me that they either received a vision or heard words. And the one woman just today wrote me and said that she heard the words, or perceived the thought as words of, "Oh, just get the jab, it'll be okay," period. And so that sort of is that would be sort of a loose association to how my first experience of this thing was. If you wanted to try and characterize it like that. It wasn't a big push, it wasn't a big emotional response or anything, but for me, instantly it brings up that paranoia, and I freaked out. And I thought it was just me, because I'm a paranoid, right? Shit happens to my mind. And so when I get validation like this, the first time I thought, oh, well, because I read through it and I just sort of put this over into this one bin in my email, didn't get seriously involved in it. And then had my own experience subsequent to that, didn't tie it to that first email, had a couple of other emails, and the emails were misleading me in terms of my thinking. I did not tie my experience to these other emails until basically just today, when this other woman sent me an email, and it was like, okay, so now here's the thing. I've had 6 communications of people telling me that they think they are targeted individuals and or are picking shit up out of the voice of God technology, and or are getting 5G radiation zapped into their brains to make them take the shot. And I can't say they're wrong. I don't know where that impression, that impetus, that disturbance in me came from. Now that I'm thinking about it as being external, I'm so far removed from anything relative to 5G or wave technology or any of that, that it would be highly improbable that I was being affected by that. On the other hand, all these people are saying that they're psychics, and a much more, I understand 5G technology, I know what it's about relative to the phone systems, I know you can do things with it as a military weapon system, But the military weapon systems are hugely powered and giant big things, not the 5G antennas that are the low power systems they're putting all over the place. 5G is intended to be low power because it needs to be. Too many cell phones, that's the issue. I'll get into that some other time. But anyway, so I didn't put it down to 5G. So I got these emails, people telling me, oh, they're using directed energy weapons to get us to take the jab. And I'm paranoid, and it's like, okay, that's an interesting thought, and, you know, put them into this bin. Then I got this email today, you know, and I'd had one of these episodes, this last episode, a few days back. And it was like, okay, there really is something going on. Because it's happened to me 3 times. 3 times is a pattern. It's not happenstance. And so I would suspect that if this is occurring at a general level, it's not being done through 5G radiation specifically or anything like that, but must be much more sophisticated to reach down and hit me at an emotional level. Because it's actually moving my body and not my mind. Now these other people are psychics, and so they're much more sensitive than I am, and so they're getting that stuff in their mind as opposed to having it bubble up from their guts. Anyway, so this is a weird woo warning, right? Or a weird warning about the woo. There's some shit going on out here, and there may be an electronic and or psychic, you know, space alien kind of thing. Who knows? There is some kind of a mechanism that is apparently affecting people with these bursts of it's okay to take the shot. And by the way, that was common in all 6 email communications, was that or all 6 communications, was that the thing lasts very short, very brief, it's harsh, and the psychics say that it is not their internal dialogue voice. And see, it didn't even raise to that level in me. I actually had to think about, now what am I experiencing? What am I feeling here, right? And then I could put words to it. So it was that much of a lower grade thing for me. Now maybe it's because I'm way the fuck away from whatever is the mechanism that is happening here. None of these people, as far as I know, are even in my state that I've been talking to. So whatever it is going on, at least northern hemisphere effective, a big chunk of the northern hemisphere, if I put all those emails or communications and spread them out on a map. So anyway, so just be advised, if you start thinking that, oh, you're going to love the jab, it isn't your thought probably. There's something going on there, and you need to examine this idea that, are you actually under your own control now? I am. I'm not going to take the jab or whatever, and none of these people were, and all of them had the same response. All of these people being psychic, I guess they knew that the way the fuck back when, that the jab was death. But anyway, they all say they're not going to take it no matter what. Now they're even more freaked out. And without exception, all of them are thinking, oh my God, is somebody targeting me individually? And it would seem, it could be, but it would seem, if so, that I'm getting something, at least to the degree that I perceived it. And I suspect that now that I've brought this up, we'll get many more people saying, yeah, damn, that happened to me too. And I don't think it's advertising, because I don't consume advertising. I mean, deliberately, I don't see TVs or any of that kind of stuff, right? So I don't have any of that kind of stuff as input to my brain. So I don't think it's advertising. I think it's a little bit more subtle than that, but also very insidious, very deeply disturbing. And I'm going to keep a real tight rein on my own thoughts relative to this, because I don't want to, have a loose thinking moment and end up doing something I regret. And the hell of it is, I know some people that were anti-jab, right? And they've taken it, and they were anti-jab, and they've taken it. Now that they've taken it, they're coming up with like bullshit excuses as to why they took it. But they were anti-jab. I never expected them to turn, and they did. And so it was like, why? These were solid alpha males that had no reason to change their opinion of this. And then the reason that they give after the fact is really bullshit, as though they're just casting around in their mind for some reason to make themselves feel better. Anyway, guys, so just be careful. I'm gonna get out in the greenhouse and tend my veggies and stuff. So just a weirdness there, and a weird warning about the woo.